If you own a home in Denver and you've driven through the city lately, you've seen the orange cones, the lane closures, and the cranes. Most people look at that and just see traffic, but when I look at it, I see a city in the middle of a $20 billion identity crisis. Denver is physically moving the center of gravity. We're transitioning from a regional hub into a dense transit-heavy city, and growing pains are hitting homeowners directly. I'm Jeremy Kane. I started this channel, What's Happening in Denver, because there's a massive gap between the local news headlines and the actual strategies that you need to manage your home as an asset. The news will tell you that, what's being built, when it's coming, when it's approved, when the ground breaks, but they won't tell you how a massive stadium project or a new zoning law is going to directly impact your property taxes or your neighborhood's character. Today, we are bridging that gap. I'm breaking down the 10 mega projects that are redrawing the Denver map. We're going to look at the massive waterfront redevelopments, the new stadium bets, and the hidden legislation friction that might actually cause billion-dollar plans to stall out entirely. Now, before we jump into the first project on the river, I want to mention why my team and I track this so closely. We don't just sell houses as real estate agents, we help homeowners manage their largest financial asset, which is their home. That means we don't just run a simple value check, we sit down with our clients for a personal annual review. We look at current loans to make sure that you're in the right leverage. We review the insurance needs against new city valuations. We strategize your home updates before you spend a dime so you don't get hit with the ROI shock for guessing wrong on an improvement. And most importantly, we map out what your equity can actually do for you long-term for your wealth. If you want to sit down and build a strategy for your home, for your wealth, follow the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description. I'd be happy to reach out. All right, let's look at the first project that is physically tearing up old Denver to build the new one. For decades, the South Platte River was basically Denver's industrial backyard. That is officially over. We are starting with Project 1, the River Mile. The plan here is to reclaim 62 acres of waterfront exactly where Elitch Garden sits today. The city's goal is high-density urbanism, a neighborhood where the river is literally in your front porch. But here's the friction you aren't hearing about. The expanding housing affordability law, the city mandate forces developers to ensure 8 to 15% of their units are affordable housing, or they will have to pay massive fees instead of building those. If the math doesn't work for the builders, the cranes stop, and if the project stalls, the walkability premium you thought you were getting by owning a home nearby gets pushed back for a decade. You could be left living next to construction site for 15 years instead of 5. Right next door is Project 2, the Ball Arena District. Kroenke Sports is taking 55 acres of surface parking and turning it into a second downtown with 6,000 homes. The cause here is the city's push for 15-minute neighborhoods, but the effect on the homeowner comes down to transportation. The entire district is anchored by the E and W rail lines. So how we'll see the parking when you go to a Nuggets and Avs game? We'll see. But look at the reality of RTD right now. With current downtown rail reconstructions, those lines are seeing massive service shifts. If you're betting your home equity on a car-free lifestyle in these new districts, you're betting on a transit system that's currently facing serious budget and maintenance hurdles. Moving north, we have two projects that are completely changing the identity of Globeville and Elyria Swansea. Project 3 is the National Western Center. The stock show didn't just move, it evolved. We currently are in phase 3 of 8, which means we are turning 250 acres into a year-round hub for agribusiness, tech, and education. It's no longer just a 2-week rodeo, it's a 365-day economic engine. If you haven't been over to CSU Spur, check that out. My kids love it. But let's look at the taxes. A lot of this is funded by lodgers' taxes on hotels and tourists. But the long-term maintenance of the surrounding infrastructure, the new roads, the increased police presence, the utilities, that eventually falls on the city's general fund, which trickles down to your property tax bill. Just a mile away is Project 4, Fox Park. This is bringing the World Trade Center, Denver, and Luxury Virgin Hotel right to the G line. But the real story for Denver homeowners, in North Denver especially, isn't the hotel, it's the legislation happening around it. You need to watch for the HOME Act. It's HB 26-1001. This new state law allows schools and nonprofits to completely bypass local zoning to build affordable housing. What does that mean for you? It means if you own a home next to a church or an old school, a high-density apartment complex could pop up that qualified land through administrative approval. No public hearings, no community vote. The character of your street could change overnight, and you won't have a say in it. Either way, no matter what you think about it, we want to have a say as tax-paying citizens. Mega projects bring amenities, but they also bring aggressive rezoning. If you own a single-family home near one of these hubs, you are in the crosshairs of the city's push for density. What does that mean to you? Comment below, I'd love to hear. Now let's move to the sports corridor, my favorite. Go Nugs, go Avs, go Broncos, and go Rockies. Professional sports demand dedicated districts, and Denver is going all in. Project number 5 is the Burnham Yards. This is the 61 acres of abandoned rail yard, and it's the heavy favorite for a new Broncos stadium. Everyone loves the idea of a shiny new stadium, but let's talk about the effect. Mass environmental remediation, infrastructure debt. To build a stadium here, the developers will likely use a metro district. This is essentially an invisible boundary where the homeowners inside immediately around it pay extra property taxes to fund the developers' roads, sewers, and sidewalks. If you own a home in Baker or Sun Valley, you need to realize that while the stadium lights look cool from your patio, the taxes to pay for the pipes and pavement below them are a long-term liability. Right down the street, Project 6, the Santa Fe Yards. This is the future $225 million home of Denver Summit FC. It's sitting right on the D and H light rail lines, right by the old Gates Rubber Company. But again, we hit transit reality. Those specific lines are currently facing service cuts due to ongoing track work. The strategy here is simple. Do not price a transit premium into your home's value if the trains aren't running reliably. You have to watch the RTD's budget gap just as closely as you watch the real estate market if you're going to be using those things to plan for your future value, for your future equity. Click this QR code and let's set up a time to have an annual equity review. Finally, we have the connective tissue. The project's designed to move people between these massive hubs without using cars. Project 7 is the East Colfax BRT. BRT stands for the Bus Rapid Transit. It basically is a train on wheels with dedicated center lanes and platform boarding. The cause, Denver traffic is at capacity. The effect, massive upzoning along the entire Colfax corridor. If you own a home near Colfax, your single family home might stay flat in value, but the dirt it sits on just skyrocketed because developers want to build up. Project 8, very similar, is the Federal Boulevard BRT. This is the 18-mile sister project connecting Dartmouth to 120th along Federal. It's the invisible infrastructure project that is going to make the North and South Metro viable for transit-oriented equity and get all these people to these places we've just talked about. Project 9 is Cherry Creek West. They're literally tearing down the obsolete traditional mall to build a village. The old retail model is dead. The new model is a 15-minute city where you can live, work, and eat without ever starting an engine. Lifestyle is the new currency in Denver real estate. And to provide this isn't just a downtown phenomenon. Look at Project 10, Lone Tree City Center. Sitting at the end of the E line, this is a 400-acre master plan, is proof that the urbanscape is the new standard for the suburbs. Homeowners don't want sprawl anymore. They want suburban downtowns. They want stuff to do. The truth is, you're living in a city that is fundamentally redesigning itself around you. If you treat your home as just a place to sleep, you're missing the strategy of how to manage your largest asset. Let's talk about your property taxes because 2026 is a tricky year. Colorado reevaluates property every 2 years. Because 2026 is an intervening year, you will not receive a new notice of valuation in the mail this May. The only way you will get a notice this year is if there was a significant change to your property, like a major remodel or a major addition. But here's the reality check the news isn't talking about. Even without a new evaluation, the tax bill you pay in early 2026 is still likely going up. Why? Because the temporary $55,000 value reduction the state gave us to buffer our taxes has officially expired. And looking ahead to 2027, that is our next reappraisal year. That is when the dirt moving on these $20 billion projects will be fully baked into your home's new assessed value. You need a strategy before that bill arrives. This is exactly why we do the personal asset review. We will look at your loan, audit your insurance coverage, and make sure that updates you're planning actually make sense for the new map of Denver. If you just want a quick baseline, use the quick property valuation link below. But if you're ready to look at the equity and what it can mean for your long-term wealth, schedule an asset review with my team. We'd be happy to dive in, and we'll talk about all these projects as they affect you, the homeowner, right here in Denver. I'm Jeremy Kane. Let's stay ahead of the change together. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.